So if you're watching us in Lanark, don't think of that severe thunderstorm warning as, well, okay, it doesn't have to do with a tornado. Well, it could possibly be, at least in this case, as we are seeing that difference in the velocity here. So I would say go ahead and certainly take cover. I mean, severe thunderstorm warnings would be just as dangerous as tornado warnings, okay? So I would certainly want to take cover when I got a situation like this. And that is, let's see here, let's expand this out a little bit more and see if actually, let's do this. And then let's go ahead and put a cone on this as well, if we can. I think we have to be aware about not just around Lanark, but I would say, I would say that would be pretty good, because some of this activity that we're seeing is actually moving from west to east here. So it continues to make its way east, so certainly extending into Chadwick itself, around Brookfield and Buffalo within the next 15 to even just over 20 minutes or so. So be on guard when it comes to this particular storm itself. Just checking with Andrew here. And Andrew, have you, once again, things are pretty quiet. I haven't heard any pings or pongs from our friends of the National Weather Service. Still looking like the status quo is still there, right?
Yeah, and in fact, some good news for Jackson County in that we can call the all clear for that tornado warning. That's no longer a concern. For Jackson County, you're still under that severe thunderstorm warning for the extreme southeast part of Jackson County. That will go until 10 o'clock. But the way things look right now, it looks like things are quickly quieting down for Jackson County itself. You still got some strong winds, though, to the south of Chestnut Mountain there. You see that corridor, very narrow, but that eventually could be heading into Savannah as well. And you're still seeing a little bit of broad rotation. It's nothing crazy right now, but it's still kind of remnants of what we were looking at earlier between Savannah and areas just to the northwest.
That's right. And keep in mind, it doesn't have to twist in order to produce damage. There's still some good wind that we're seeing here just outside of the Savannah area. Right, you can see it right there around Sebula itself. So we'll definitely see what is transpiring here. We're getting some good wind coming in the backside of the system, just over 60 miles an hour, and that is just enough to produce some damage. So hopefully we have even some spotters out there as well that are kind of monitoring the situation. Some of the emergency management teams in each of these counties have been very busy in our viewing area so far in the past hour or so. So if we're going to get any information about any type of damage, reports of what they have seen, we're certainly going to definitely be hearing it from them as the storm continues to make its way off toward the east. So once again, some very active weather scattered about our viewing area across eastern Iowa and northwestern Illinois. And we're going to continue to stay on air until really the threat, or especially any type of tornadic threat, is taking place around the area. Especially when we are not dealing with any type of dangerous winds, damaging winds, then we'll certainly go back to our regular programming. But I know a lot of people up here are really concerned about some of this cluster of activity that continues to make its way off to the east. These are growing very rapidly, as you can see, from southwest to northeast. Some of these clusters of storms are actually working together, trying to form as one long line of storms, or what we call a squall line. We could actually be seeing that slowly develop maybe with that line as that front from the west pushes on in. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. We are definitely getting some lightning out of this as well. Some very active lightning has been taking place just outside of Chestnut Mountain. You can see the amount of lightning that is going on here, and you got to get a good sense of where all the lightning is centered in some areas. That's the worst part of the storm that is taking place, okay? So you can see right here, right in northeastern Carroll County, look at the cluster here. This is the worst part of the storm that's going on, okay? And wouldn't be surprised if we even had some power outages that are going on with all this lightning that is going on. So it doesn't just have to be the wind that may cause some power outages. Get a whole lot of lightning like this, especially a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning. That's certainly a concern. And then you can see just outside of Chestnut Mountain, heading just north of Savannah right here, right there on Route 84, that was where we're seeing a nice little cluster. So once again, the most intense part of the storm now crossing its way into the river, crossing the river into Illinois. So once again, a very dangerous situation that's going on. You certainly don't want to be outside and try to monitor this thing let the experts kind of take care of itself. And of course, when we're dealing with these severe thunderstorms, we normally, if we have the right cold air aloft, taking all that warm air aloft into that colder part of the storm, you can get some real nice hail as well. And we're certainly seeing that just over a quarter size hail that is taking place outside the town of Lanark. And if that storm continues to make its way off to the northeast, we may be dealing with some of that in Lanark as well, possibly even around Shannon if that does actually hold together. So it's good that we're able to show you that hail tracker and certainly give you an estimate as to how large this hail can potentially be. You can actually see maybe a little bit just outside of Savannah as well when it comes to that hail. And you can see it's not very widespread at all. It's very isolated when it comes to some of this hail that is taking place. In fact, even the intensity of that hail core that we see outside of Lanark is getting a little bit brighter as well with that storm as it continues to make its way from southwest to northeast. Andrew?
Still looking for some updates from the National Weather Service. In fact, there's still some spotters down towards the Fort Madison area that are continuing to monitor some rotation with that storm. Let's go back to the south there because, again, we are still dealing with an active tornado warning, if you will, well to the south here of Burlington, thankfully. So no threat for Burlington right now. This is going to be further to your south and your southwest. So more specifically, we're looking at Fort Madison and just looking at some of the comments from the National Weather Service, noticing again some good levels of rotation with this particular storm. It's a little bit of a tricky area, as we mentioned earlier. We are shooting the radar beam much farther away with this storm, so it's a little harder to get a handle on exactly where all these features are, but there's no doubt we're still seeing some very strong winds picking up just to the east of Fort Madison, where you're seeing those brighter teals, those brighter green colors. Certainly some very strong wind there. Looking at the velocity, if you had to pick out where the rotation is, it looks like we're just to the east of Fort Madison where we're looking for that rotation. Looking at the reflectivity too to see if we can get any kind of hints or clues as to what this might be doing in terms of that tornado threat. Let's pan back down to the south here. You can see at least the warning is shrinking, so that's certainly some good news. We're getting that update. In fact, looks like some more updates coming through from the National Weather Service here. I'm going to give my radar a second to catch up. There it goes. And let's go back in down here towards Fort Madison. You can see now the threat is east of town. So West Point, Denmark, Fort Madison, you're in the clear currently. Now that warning heading off to areas like Dallas City. And that matches up well with where we saw the possibility of some of that rotation, again, east of Fort Madison. So the Dallas City area, you should be in the shelter right now. This is essentially right on top of you where this rotation is taking place. Same thing with Lomax. This is right on your doorstep as it heads right up Illinois 96 there and just to the north of Illinois 9. Very serious situation. As you can see on the left-hand part of your screen, it's still radar indicated, so we don't have a spotter on this right now, confirming that something's on the ground. But looking at the radar data, you can tell something's going on. The storm is trying to get its act together and certainly rotating at times enough that we could be looking at a possible tornado there. So we're going to keep an eye on that. Going back up to the north again, the threat is over for tornadic activity, at least in Jackson County for right now. Things starting to develop into a solid line. That's what we've been kind of predicting and talking about for much of the day. We would see scattered stuff initially, and then all of it evolves into this line. Thankfully, the area that's heading for the immediate Quad Cities, as you can see, there is nothing warned on it at this time. That is some good news, but there is some really good rain coming out of that too. So the hope is we can keep that line going, keep it solid, get it to sweep through here in the next couple of hours, giving all of us some beneficial rain. Even though we're getting the severe weather here in parts of Carroll County, Joe Davis County, this is the greatest area of concern, at least locally, for drought conditions, and this is very nice to see all of this widespread rainfall coming down.
Yeah, thank you very much, Andrew, on that. Let's extend that out to, I want to just point out something just on this line that we have here, because I've been also looking at the reflectivity, even the velocity as well. In this particular area around Jones County, getting ready to make his way into Cedar County, we can kind of drag that over a little bit. And then once we do that, go ahead and put a loop on that too if we can, because it looks like we're getting some signs here that we're getting some intensification on the winds that are coming down out of the north and west. So we'll see when that transpires too, when this line of storms, as Andrew just mentioned, continues to make his way, mainly the line itself making its way from northwest to southeast. So I would say around Lost Nation and Clarence, winds are starting to pick up there. We may see some intensification on that as it mixes away toward Wheatland and possibly around DeWitt. As Andrew just mentioned too, is the fact that we don't want to deal with any more severe weather for the rest of this night as the system continues to produce some nice rain. Which really want the rain than anything else. I know farmers that are still needing a little bit more of that rain. It's been a very dry month of June, and hopefully we get a nice little drenching. Right now, just in the past 3 hours or so, and it hasn't really updated in the past 15 or 20 minutes or so, you can see how most of the heavy rain has been really confined in portions of Jones County here, over an inch and a half of rain, especially right near Monticello. Could be a little bit higher than that. But that's the line that we want to see kind of sweep its way across the area and produce some nice rain. If we're going to see any area that really needs the rain, it's going to be areas really just north of the Quad Cities. That's where we've been seeing some abnormally dry weather there. And we don't want that to actually expand even more. We usually get an update every Thursday as far as drought conditions are concerned. But we know that areas just north of the Quad Cities, and especially west as you make your way in the Hawkeye State, that's where we've been seeing some abnormally dry conditions. So some nice rains will be certainly beneficial here. So if you're just joining us, we continue to monitor these warnings that are taking place across the area. A nice cluster of them that have been going on. We had a possible report, or actually we had a report of a tornado just around the Dubuque-Jackson County border. Had some reports of some power line damage that took place there. That is the same storm that has now expanded its way farther eastward, going into Joe Davies and even around Carroll County. This is not only producing a lot of rain, a whole lot of frequent lightning, but even some pretty good wind with these storms too, as that rain comes down and pushes the air ahead of it. And that's where we could be dealing with some damage, maybe with winds around 60 miles an hour. So that's why we have the severe thunderstorm warning that goes throughout all of pretty much Carroll County, portions of Joe Davies County, and a little farther eastward as you go, going into Stevenson County until about 10 p.m. So a good cluster of some storms that we see here. The line itself is actually trying to extend even farther south. So even though it may be dry right now in the immediate Quad Cities, things are looking pretty good that we're going to get some activity around the immediate Quad Cities. Looks like maybe in the next, I would say, hour or so. Otherwise, farther east of that line as you go, it's going to be a nice little cluster of some nice heavy rainfall, a nice, mature thunderstorm that may be racing across the area, but hopefully nothing severe. We're at a point now in the day where here it's about 9:15 or so, and this is where we start losing some of that convective energy that we've been building up throughout the day. And you can see the extent of it right now, kind of being focused around the immediate Quad Cities and especially points southward. So we'll certainly, even though nothing has been really going on in this area with the exception of areas just south side of Burlington, we'll expect that to expand even more and thus produce some pretty nice rain. So once we see that rainfall, look at this, we kind of lose that convective energy. So that's what we're hoping to kind of rinse all this heat that we've been dealing with for the past number of days and really help cool things off just in time to start off the brand new week. Let's go over these warnings once again if we can, and we'll start with areas to our south where we have just one tornado warning going on just south of the Burlington area. And this one is until, what do we got here? Until...
That's an interesting time.
That is a very interesting time.
Can't say I've seen that time before.
Yeah, I think we'll try and get that rebooted there, but I think we're talking about until 9:30 or so for that tornado warning that's taking place just outside of Dallas City. So we're going to get that radar updated.
In fact, they just canceled that.
They just canceled that?
Yep.
That's some good news. Maybe that's why we had that unusual time.
Very
on
precise.
There. Yes, very much so. So that's some good news there. So right now, folks, and let's see, the time right now is 9:17 here. Right now, we're just dealing with these thunderstorms that are going on in this particular area, the cluster of storms that not only can produce some hail that we saw just outside of Lanark, at least what we saw radar indicated, but we're also dealing with a good wind that's coming down from some of these storms as well. Could get some power outages too with all the lightning that is taking place, and with some of that wind there's a good likelihood we're going to be dealing with some of that. So just make sure that you have those flashlights all ready to go. That's always something handy as well. Make sure you have that Storm Track 8 or even that News 8 app, weather app, because you can actually see the radar. If you lose the power, hey, at least you got a fully charged, hopefully a fully charged phone, so you can actually follow all this activity across your neck of the woods. So that's a nice resource to have when it comes to these type of situations. Once again, this severe thunderstorm warning, and it's kind of clouded from all the activity, but you got to get a gist of it. There we go. Thank you, Andrew. And this is all until 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock this evening, so just less than 45 minutes ago before we see some of this kind of come to an end. We've been kind of monitoring any type of that circulation, possible circulation over in Savannah or so, and let's see if we can actually go right back to it. Once again, this is wind velocity. This is not rain. This is wind moving toward and away from the radar site itself. So we've been kind of keeping an eye on this, now making its way around Mount Carroll. And we'll get that one located just outside of Milledgeville as well here. Let's see this. Let's go to Milledgeville here and let's put a loop on this and see if we're actually getting a hint of maybe some type of circulation right here. It doesn't appear to be the case, so that is some good news there. Maybe just once again, any air that's kind of going toward the radar site could be kind of showing that a little bit. We're not actually seeing any couplet with this one, so that is some good news. Now let's make our way a little bit more toward the Mount Carroll area, and not too much. There could be some broad rotation going on here right around Mount Carroll, but nothing that has been issued by our friends at the National Weather Service. They got some real high-tech equipment over there too, going to give us even more details, but for on their side of things, they're not seeing anything at the time being. Just a good mature thunderstorm that is taking place right around Mount Carroll itself. So still a very dangerous situation. Hopefully you're not going out there and watching it. You might be hearing all that thunder going on and seeing all that lightning, but you certainly don't want to go out in this environment. Very dangerous situation with everything that is going on, because a good wind can knock down some trees. Certainly, hopefully nothing like that will hit your house or anything like that, but the best place you want to be certainly is inside. You just don't want to deal with any of this activity that is going on just north of the Quad Cities itself. And speaking of the Quad Cities, I know some people like, okay, what about us? We want to see some rain around here. Well, once again, we're going to keep an eye on that line that we see you can see just west of Clinton, right along Route 30, DeWitt, Wheatland, even just north of Tipton. This is going to be interesting because I think this is going to be a line that's going to kind of whip its way right across the immediate Quad Cities here. Let's see what we got here. This actually could stay just to the north. Actually, what we're seeing here now, maybe hugging Route 30 itself. So we're hoping we're going to count on some more evolving of these storms more of these storms to evolve just off to our south and west, maybe around Iowa City or so, and make its way across the immediate Quad Cities. So we'll see how that all turns out. So very interesting situation going on here with finally that front that's encountering some of this extremely unstable air with some good dynamics, just enough to produce some of this active weather. You can see how some of those storms just blossoming just east of the Quad Cities itself right here, just west of Tampico. Looks like right around the Erie Prophetstown area, seeing some of those thunderstorms that are just ballooning. Here comes boom like that, okay? There's no cap. We're just breaking the cap, any inversion. When we talk about the cap, we're talking about at a level of warm air aloft, what we call an inversion. And if you break that inversion, you break that cap, then those clouds can just blossom quickly in a very short period of time and produce a pretty mature thunderstorm as well. Right now, we've been getting some heavy rain out of this. Not sure we're getting some pretty strong lightning out of this as well, given the nature of this growth that's going on just around that Erie Prophetstown area. Let's see if we got any lightning out of that. I don't think we probably, not sure we do. There we go.
Couple.
It's getting there though, it's getting there. We're just seeing some good growth with that. So I was just curious if we saw anything going on. So once again, a very strong storm that will continue its northeastward course. So Andrew, you might want to call your mom, Dad, let them know that you're going to be seeing some rain coming out of your way. Hopefully that would be awfully nice. I had some viewers in Sterling Rock Falls that were waiting for some of that rain to come, and it looks like I think that's going to be the case. Hopefully it won't graze the Sterling Rock Falls area. Hopefully we get a nice rain out of this, and certainly nothing severe. So that is the latest that is going on. Andrew, I'm going to let you take it away. What have you been, anything on your side that has caught your attention?
Still fairly quiet from the National Weather Service, not seeing much new information there, but do want to show you what we've got going on in terms of the radar because we are watching an outflow boundary that's coming in from these storms just to the north of the Quad Cities. In fact, it's kind of interesting. You can see this flare up here on the west side of the Quad Cities here next to the Mississippi River, likely some kind of insects that have just taken off. Kind of neat.
Could it be the mayflies?
It could be. Maybe
the
the first little severe weather front has upset the mayflies, and now they're ready to fly.
They're getting out of town.
They're out of here. So I don't know what that means for us, but we'll have to watch that. But yeah, there's an outflow boundary coming down from that storm, and you can see it just south of Tipton here. I'm going to draw the line for you. With that outflow, what that is that's what James refers to as that rush of wind, that rain-cooled air that comes out ahead of these thunderstorms. And what that boundary can do is it can actually spark new storm development. So even though it's not storming right now to the north of Muscatine and south of Tipton, that's likely going to fill in here. And it looks like that process is already underway right over Tipton itself. But nonetheless, still some good wind coming down with that. If we go back to the velocity, you can see we still have some of those lighter green colors, especially coming in here just to the west of Calmus and Wheatland. Some very strong winds actually coming out of Loudon. So this is an area we're going to be watching here. As it continues to move off to the east. Let's sample some of the wind speeds too while we've got this here because we're still looking at some very strong winds. In fact, 64 miles an hour currently being estimated in that particular part of the storm. And there is no particular warning on this right now. We're going to have to keep our eye on that and see if that wind speed happens to ramp up. But let me clear that off of there and we'll put the track on where this potentially strong wind could be going here. It certainly looks like we've got some good wind on the velocity. Let's track it out and show you where it's going to be heading here. Again, it's not warned, but certainly will be some strong winds. So you're looking at Calmus here in about 5 minutes or so. Then we move on to Grand Mound and then DeWitt. And then past that, we're going to McCausland. So strong winds with this particular storm. If you haven't brought in the outdoor ornaments, the hanging baskets, and you're in the path of this one, now might be a good time to do that. Even take down the American flag as well if you've got that flying out. That may not last quite much longer with some of these stronger wind gusts coming through. Not a bad idea at all. Let's put a loop on things and take a tour around the rest of the area. Still watching some gusty thunderstorms moving through parts of Carroll County, up through Joe Davis County. Though as of right now, it looks like the strongest winds are actually traversing across parts of Carroll County, just to the south of Mount Carroll and Lanark. That's where we were watching earlier, that broad level of rotation, but as of right now, still doesn't look very organized.
Andrew, we're going to do this. We're eventually going to make our way back to network, and if any additional activity, any warnings that do happen to pop up in our local area, we're going to let you know. But real quick, latest report we got out of parts of Jackson County around Road 157. Sheriff Office reports there were some trees down. No damage at this point. Some power lines that were down as well. And even around Des Moines County, Sheriff's Office there fortunately said there has been no damage, even though we had a tornado warning in that part of the area, so that is some good news. So we'll continue to monitor this situation right here, and we promise you folks, if anything new develops, especially any more additional warnings for parts of our area, we'll interrupt programming and give you the latest information just for you. Let's go back to our regular programming. You can get more information on our website at WQAD.com.
Hey, check. 321 123. 321 123. No, I had a good time. I did. It's okay. I know, but it's Dazo. Ooh, I need to adjust some wires, don't I? It's really cute of me to do that. Let me grab my necklace. Can we cue up the prompter just so I can, what am I gonna tease? Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Taking the next step. How? Let's see. Taking the next step. How taking the next step. Alex Tanney continuing his football career in the NFL in a new role. I'll explain how. Coming up next on News 8 Sports. Okay, bye. Good job, JC. Coming up next in News 8 Sports.